Let's talk about how to set tests using Test Center. On the Test Center admin, let's go to the test menu. Then you click on Manage. So this is how you set test. It's quite straightforward. So you click Set Test. You have two options. You can set test for a single candidate, or you can set test for an entire class. So let me take that of a single candidate. So you'll be asked to provide the reg number of that candidate. So let's say I want to set test for a candidate whose reg number is James. Then I proceed. The next dialog you will see is going to tell you to select the content. So this is telling you what question bank do you want to reference. So in this case, I'm interested in, let's say, SSC objective. Then how many subjects? I just want to take two subjects at a go. Then you proceed. Then what happens now is all the subjects under SSC objective will be displayed. So you expect to pick any two subjects. So I'm going to take mathematics and economics. So the season refers to the year or the term or what have you. So the season is defined by the content. So the content determines what you see on that season. So if you want to know more about season, check out videos on how to create content. So let's say I'm interested in 2010 questions. Then here I'm also interested in 2010. Then you can choose the number of questions that you want to answer. Do note that if the number of questions you provide here is more than what's available in the question bank, the user or the candidate will not see questions beyond the maximum number in the question bank. So it means your number will be ignored and the maximum number will be used. But in case you want to just use all the question under this particular season, you can just select all. So what that means is if, for example, you have 60 or 100 questions under the subject, it will just pick all. So instead of you bothering with the actual number. But here, let me just select 50. So the other thing is duration. So duration is the time you want the test to take. So in this case, 1 hour. So one test run for 1 hour. You can always change it to anything. Anything not more than 24 hours. 24 hours is the maximum time you can set. Then you have some optional fields. You can choose to shuffle questions. So what that means is two candidates taking the same subject from the same season will not see their question arranged in the same order. So that's the meaning of shuffle question. You can also choose to shuffle options, so which means the options the user will see might be different from that of another candidate taking the same question, right? Then what about the batch? So batch is a very interesting concept. So you can see the batch as the year or whatever batch you are referring to. So for example, if you are using this software for a school exam, the batch may represent the year and the term. So I could say something like 2023 second term. So something like this, 2023 second term. So this could represent a batch, or it could mean, let's say 2020 or 2023 session. So it all depends on your use case. So a for a university or polytechnic, the batch could be the semester. So I could say 2023 first semester. So this could represent the batch. So, but you are not expected to have any other character except alphanumeric, that's numbers and letters. So you could have it like this, first semester. So you could shorten it like this. So this is what the batch number is meant for. You can leave it blank. You can decide not to use any batch number, and that's fine. Then what about the accreditation? Accreditation feature allows you to prevent candidates from taking tests unless they are accredited. So there are two ways you can accredit uh, candidates. You can accredit them manually, which means before they sit for their exam, one of your staff member will have to manually activate or accredit that candidate before this candidate can take the test. Then the other option is biometrics. So this involves the use of a fingerprint device. So what that means is before the candidates will be able to sit for the exam, the candidate will have to use a fingerprint device, that is thumbprint, before sitting for the exam. But the biometric option is currently unavailable, which means you at the moment you won't be able to use the biometric option. We are still working on that. But for the manual, it's active, so you can choose a manual accreditation where you have to enable the test before the student or candidate will sit for the exam. So let me leave it as known. Then what about the start date? So let's say you want to schedule this test for tomorrow or next week or next month. You can do that using this option. So what this means is as long as the test is not happening within a period of time, the candidate cannot sit for that test. So let's say, for example, I want the test to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to change the start date to tomorrow. So I'm going to change it to 2nd of February, right? So which means if I choose the test and I try to take test, I won't be allowed to do that because the test hasn't commenced. So you can precisely determine the date, the time, even up to seconds. That is the hour, the minute, and the second. So, but if you don't set any duration, the default duration is going to be between a day before the day you are setting this exam and a year after. So what I mean is the default duration is always within a year. So what that means is if I'm setting this test today, the software will automatically set the duration to be between yesterday and a year from now. So that's the default duration, and which is fine because it covers a period of 1 year. But if you want to precisely control that duration, you can set that. Once you are done setting all the options, you click on send, and here you have a test. So this is how you create or you set a test for a candidate. So let's take a look at how you set a test for a class. So this option for a class should be selected. So the interesting thing about setting for a class is this. So let's say I want everybody to in a particular class to take a given exam. So let's say right now I want SS1A to sit for biology. So I'm going to select SS1A as the class, then proceed. Then I'm going to select the content, which here is SSC objective. So I'm going to select one subject. Then I'm going to move on to biology. Let me leave this season. Then let me change this to 30 minutes. Then I'm going to click on send. So now what happens is this. Test Center is going to create a biology test for every candidate under SS1A. So instead of you creating tests one after the other for each candidate, this option allows you to create tests in bulk for every candidate under a given class. So which saves you a lot of time. So you can see that the Aqua Glory is in SS1A, and here you have the biology test for the Aqua Glory. Then Mike Tone is also in this class, and that's why you have this test for biology test for Mike Glory. But this James Henry is not in the same class, and this test is for the first one I did. Okay, so this is how you create tests both for a given candidate and for a class as a whole. So the next thing is how do you import tests? So that's the next one I want to talk about. So importing tests is another way to quickly add tests in bulk. So let's say you want a case where you want the test to be provided externally, maybe in an Excel file, and you want to import that. So this comes in handy when you want to divide this task. You want someone else to type the test detail and you just want to upload it as an administrator. So you go for this option, which is importing text from Excel or CSV. Then you can also import text from table and from an external URL. The external URL at the moment is not functional, but then it will be made available very soon. So let's talk about how to import text from Excel. So the first thing you need to get is the template. So what's the template that you need to the structure of the template? You can get the template from this application. You go to the templates menu at the top at the menu bar, then you select test, then you can see the template for Excel and CSV. Once you click on any of them, you'll be asked to save the template, right? And once you save it, that's it. So let me open the template for us to see how it looks like, and let's also set a test. Let's take a look at the test template. The first field you expect to fill is the reg number. The reg number should contain the same standard as the one you have when you enter the test manually. So what that means is you can't have invalid characters. Then the next field is content code. So this is the code of the question bank you want to use here. You want the candidate to sit for. Then for the subject, you just enter the subject names. If you have more than one subject, you enter the names separated by comma. You should make sure that you spell the name of the subject correctly. But then you don't need to, it is case insensitive. So what that means is if I have commas and I spell it in this way, let's say all capital letter, it doesn't really matter. As long as the subject commas exist in content code UTM-8 mock, then you are fine. Then the next is to provide a season. So the season is the year or whatever you define as your season. So if you take a look at what we have here, what this means is mock 2 refers to English language. That is, you want questions from English to be from mock 2, right? Then for the rest of the subject, you want mock 2 to also be the season. So which means you can just type the season as this. If you want all of the subjects to be mock 2, you just type mock 2. But if you want to change the season for different subjects, you can say, okay, let's say maths is mock 2. Then you can say the rest should be mock 3. So this is what I mean. You don't need to have all of them being mock 2, right? And also, the number of season may not correspond with the number of subjects. We have 5 subjects, but we have 3 seasons. Ideally, we are supposed to have 5 seasons, one for each subject, right? But then you can define just the first two and tell the application that let the rest of the subject be mock 3. So which means English will be mock 2, math will be mock 2, commerce will be mock 3, biology will be mock 3, and economics will be mock 3. So the last season will be applied to the remaining subject. Now the same thing applies to season, to number of questions. So this is a field, this is question numbers, that is how many questions from each subject. So 60 refers to the first subject, which is English. 40 refers to mathematics. Then since we don't have more numbers, it means 40 will be applied to the rest of the subject. Then we have another field known as duration. Duration is the time allocated for the test. So if you want the test to run for a maximum of 2 hours, you convert 2 hours to minutes. So which means you multiply 2 by 60 and by 60, and that will give you 7,200. So it means the unit of this duration is in seconds. Then shuffle question means, do you want to shuffle question? So this is an optional field. If you say yes, it means you indicate 1. 1 means yes, 0 means no. Do you want to shuffle option? The same thing. 1 means you want to shuffle option, 0 means you don't want to shuffle option. Then the batch number is also optional. You can choose to leave it the way it is, or you leave it blank. You can just delete it, or you can provide whatever batch number you wish to. Then accreditation is the same thing. So you can leave it blank if you don't want any form of accreditation. Then if you want accreditation, you can choose manual or biometrics. Okay, so this is how you provide the test data using Excel. You can provide as many student record as possible. So this is for the first student, first candidate, this another candidate, and you can provide as many rows as you wish to. So let's save this and let's import into test center. Then there's something you need to take note of. When spelling out the season as well, you don't need to be, is case insensitive, right? Then you can leave as many space as possible. You can leave as many space as possible. That doesn't really matter. Just make sure the spelling of Mach 3 is just correct. It doesn't have to be, it can be in any capital or small letter. Okay, let's import this into test center. So to import this, you click on the import button, then that's under test. Then you click from Excel file. Then you select the template and you click open. Once everything is fine, you will see a message telling you successfully added, and that means everything went fine. Okay, so we can confirm. So we added a test for James and also for Clara, and here you can see them. So we have the following subject for James, and we have the following subject for Clara. So this is how you add tests from Excel. The same rule applies to CSV. So let's talk about how to import using table. That of table is very similar to importing from Excel. So the only difference is you don't have an external file. So you can imagine this as Excel being embedded in the app. So let's create one for Toby. So then the content code. So let's say this time around, I'm interested in SSC, then underscore objective, right? Then here we have, no, this is just SSC. That's the content code. Then the subject. So let's say here I want to just take um, government. Then what season? So I just want 2002. Then number of question. I just want 50 question. Then I want shuffle question. I want shuffle option. The duration. I just want 30 minutes, which is 1,800 seconds. After providing the duration, you can leave the rest of the optional field. So let's click proceed. So once you proceed, you have the following. So you have this as the name of the candidate and every other detail. We selected government, season is 2022, 2002. Then you have 50 questions, and that's it. So this is how you import from table. You can add as many candidates as possible, just like in the Excel. So this is how you import from. So this is how you set test using Test Center.